What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog. My name is Jorge and this is a broken down Pontiac GT. Now in today's video, I'm going to show you guys what happened at the track last week, and we're going to hopefully fix it and get it back up and running. So stay tuned. Now, if you guys watched last week's video, you guys will know that I took the car to the track and that it ran its best time, but in the process, I heard something. Now, that ended up being a blown head gasket, and I'm going to show you guys just what I'm talking about. So, I actually got way ahead of myself and started working on this car last weekend before I had to leave, and as you guys can see, it's all apart. I've got, you know, Pro Charger sitting over there. I've got all kinds of intake. Just disassembled this head, and as you guys know, the head's not here. Well, that's because I actually had to get the head taken and repaired. Let me show you guys now the head gasket. So here is the head gasket, and as you guys can see here, it blew out a hole completely. I mean, I'm not sure how that happened, but it cut right through into these cooling jackets here, and now, I mean, it just charred up, and you guys can see it went right through. So luckily, the only thing that got damaged was that head gasket and the head, and I'll actually post a picture. The head's already been repaired. I had it taken to get repaired, but I'll post a picture right now of the damage that the head had. And so now let's go actually look at the head and then show you guys what it looks like now. Alright guys, so here is the head. It has been repaired. Now, this is the front of the block here. This is the top front. So this is cylinder 1 and this is cylinder 2. So if you guys remember on this gasket here, this goes basically like this. And you can see the damage was here on cylinder number 3. And so this has now been completely fixed and repaired. The head's been decked and cleaned, so we're ready to put this back on. So as you guys can see, a lot of work goes into taking the heads off, so we'll get right back to it. I'm gonna go ahead and start putting all this back together, and then hopefully it all works out. Now, to do all this, obviously you have to have a torque wrench. You've got to have the right bolts. I do have ARP head studs, and that requires their own special grease and little procedures. So kind of just the little steps of what you got to do here is basically clean out the threads on the studs, ensure that they're all nice and in, which they look like they were when we took them out. You have to clean all the washers and make sure that the washers for the ARP wash are nice, cleaned, oil free. And you have to follow the torquing instructions. You can find those anywhere online. There's a certain procedure to how you have to torque the bolts. You go from inside out, and you give it a couple passes of that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to work on this, and hopefully when it's all said and done, this thing will be running. I do have to flush the oil and do at least 2 or 3 oil changes to flush everything out, make sure everything's good. I got a new LS9 head gasket. As you guys can see, I've got gotta flush the cooling system. I've got a bunch of parts here that I needed. The LS9 head gasket that's gonna go replace the broken head gasket, as well as, you know, well, new spark plug new spark plug, sorry, and just anything else that needs to get done. So fingers crossed, guys, and this car will be done and started up at the end of this video. Well, guys, I've got the head back on. Was able to do it without damaging or anything like that, and as you guys can see, got all the studs. You can see it there, I hope, and on the outside here. So now the next step is to, I've already done this, but make sure we clean and dry all the washers, nuts and bolts, because we don't want any oil on this stuff. So they're all dry cleaned, and now I've got to get some of this ARP Ultra Torque lubricant, and this stuff is going to go on the threads. I'm going to put a little bit on the threads, and then we can start torquing it down. Alright guys, so I've gone ahead and just put on all the washers, bolts, and everything. Now it's time to do the torque specs. Now the head has a specific way that you have to torque it, and is usually from the center outward. So you torque down here, then here, then here, then here, then here, and you do that 3 times, and then finally these top ones are just, I guess, little security ones, and those get done at the very end. So here we can see the installation kit for the head studs, and I'm actually wrong. The first pass is up to 25 foot-pounds, and as you can see here, we've got start right at the middle, 1, 2, we move to the front, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So from the middle down, up to the middle front, back down to the back, up, and then I'm gonna keep this on and we'll just follow that on, but for now. Well guys, I did a lot of work off camera, but I've installed the heads finally, torqued everything to spec the way it should be with the 3 separate passes. The same with the rockers. The rockers have a specific torquing method that you have to go through. So I did that. All that has been taken care of. The rockers are oiled. Everything was oiled up. I've put the valve cover back on. Now it's a matter of just kind of tightening and putting everything else back on. So to do that, you know, we're gonna have to go through and put the intake back on, route the drive belt back on. I had to, since I had to loosen up the power steering pump, and then install the Pro Charger. So after that, we're gonna drain the cooling system and then put all new cooling in there, and also change. All right guys, so the GoPro battery died, so I basically had to charge it, but I kept working on the car, and as you guys can see, it is all back together. Put the Pro Charger back on. I've changed the oil on that. I went ahead and drained the oil, put a whole new oil filter, and put some new oil in here. Flushed the radiator, put water in there so I can circulate a little bit more. And it's time for the first startup. So we'll see what happens. I've gone ahead and connected the have the data log so that we can see what's going on. And let's turn this thing on. No smoke in the back. Everything looks good. A little bit of oil, but nothing too crazy. The big thing is, guys, we don't want any smoke, any exhaust coming out the back. Looking here, oil pressure is at 52, so oil pressure is good. We're gonna go ahead and pour some water in here. But I think it's good to go. We're back in business for now, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and run it for a little bit longer and then drain that oil and then put new oil back in. Well, guys, I just went ahead and did the second oil change. That way it could flush out anything, and it's actually doing really well. I don't see any smoke out the back. I mean, this is a good sign right here, guys. I don't see any smoke out the back and nothing up in the front that I can tell. I mean, everything looks really good. So I'm gonna let this idle a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna do another final flush, just because you can never be too careful. So, but overall I think it's doing really well. So fingers crossed, it's working. It's working, guys. I think I was able to replace and repair a head all in one. That's awesome. Well, guys, as you guys can see outside, it is already pretty much the evening. I've been working on this car all day long, and I think it's fixed. I had the car idling for about 45 minutes, just kind of making sure I didn't see anything in the logs and that it really was, you know, not smoking anymore out of the back tailpipes. And I didn't see any smoke, just nice idling, nothing really in the logs. Everything was great, good oil pressure, good everything. So I think we're good to go, guys. I am gonna do one final oil change, probably tomorrow. But I ran a first oil change through, warmed it all up, got it really hot, turned it on, and then I warmed that, like I said, I warmed it up, drained that, and I put another fresh set of oil in there. And that's what I let idle for about 45 minutes with that oil. Everything was great. Haven't drained it, so what we hope to see is that there's no more coolant, and the coolant was mixed with the last oil change. But in any case, I don't see that being an issue, especially since we're not seeing any smoke out the back. So I'm gonna go ahead and, for now, let this thing cool down, and then tomorrow I'll probably turn it on again slightly for let the oil warm up, and then we'll do the final oil change. And with that, we should be done, and we should have the car back up and running 100%. I've never done this before in my life. I've never taken off a head, never done, I mean, the most I've ever done slight low bolt-ons like intakes or exhaust. So this was definitely a learning experience for me. And it's hard, but it's not difficult. So if you guys have issues with the leaking head gasket or whatever the case may be, you guys can definitely do it. If I can do it, then you guys can do it. But for now, thanks again for watching. I know this was videos back and forth, cut up, the battery died and this and that, and I was just really focused on trying to get this car back up. But the car's up and running, it's good, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.